And she said, "You're crazy. You're crazy." Because I told her, listen, there's a real gap. We can be a bridge between everybody who wants to engage with the Israeli ecosystem. Nobody has this kind of access. Nobody understands the ecosystem like an industry insider, somebody who grew up here, who knows all the founders because they went with them to the military and they went to school and went to the Technion and they went through so many similar experiences. We can really be that bridge, and we can be the eyes and ears on the ground of everyone who wants to come in. And she's like, "You're crazy."
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel. Welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders. Today we are joined by Mor Assia, founding partner and co-CEO of iAngels and general partner in the iNgenuity Fund. An Israeli high-tech insider, a graduate of the IDF's Elite Intelligence Unit 8200, Mor leads iAngels Investment Committee, deal screening, due diligence, and portfolio management activities. Mor's tech background with SAP, IBM, and Amdocs has proven invaluable in assessing new technologies, and her ability to deep dive with entrepreneurs into their business strategy and solution has created a strong foundation for relationship building. Mor has been instrumental in structuring and pricing investment rounds and consistently brings value-add partnerships to help portfolio companies. Mor Assia, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I love your work. I've been following your work for a long time with iAngels, but also before that with SAP and IBM and Amdocs, MBA at Columbia, bachelor's in mathematics and computer science with a Technion, an amazing track record. You're either on the board of directors or a board observer of some of the most amazing companies that I've been following closely in the Israeli ecosystem. And so we have a lot of amazing things to talk about. But just as much as I want to talk about iAngels and the investments that you're doing there, and congratulations on the recent raise of the new fund, I want to also dive into your own journey and understand you better and gain a little inspiration from the decisions that you've made along your career, following your passion and what has led you to where you are today. So Mo, maybe we can get started going all the way back, even to when you were in 8200, and what really drove you throughout your career as you're navigating through the different milestones?
Yeah. I think, the first kind of conscious decision that I remember making into, diving into the space was in 11th grade. I don't know if people know this, but in Israel, when you're in high school, you already choose a major. You already choose kind of like what you want to specialize in while still in high school. And at 10th grade, you do everything. You're a generalist. And then 11th grade, you need to kind of choose a domain. And I remember I was doing elimination. I'm doing elimination based on what like the teachers I didn't like so much, or what I didn't find like too easy, or I couldn't get a straight A without putting a lot of effort. So I eliminated and chose physics and computer science and like the top math. And I was native English speaker. So those were kind of like the four core subjects that I was focusing on. And it's kind of funny to think that through that elimination process, where I really wanted to choose the things that I felt I was the strongest at because it was easy to me. These are the kind of choices that were very important for down the road, because you choose computer science and you choose physics, then all of a sudden the people who do this are recognized and are scouted by the top units in the military because they want to bank on kind of your experience and everything that you've gained in high school. And so I think this has definitely been helpful in kind of being on the radar of 8200. Now, 8200 is, needless to say, and you really only appreciate it much, much, much later in life, was one of the best experiences. And I think one of the, most interesting roles that women have in the military, at least. So I had a technological role in 8200 and an opportunity to see some of, unique technologies, working with people who are specialists in encryption, in algorithms, in data science, and in how our intelligence is really being made. And I had a great experience there, and also had an opportunity to learn from different people around me. I think this was very much an experience that kind of, grounds you or helps you become a better leader. And afterwards, I kind of, I wanted to want to kind of take all my experience and continue on that same track. And I remember when I told folks that I was accepted to the Technion, I'm going to study mathematics and computer science. They're like, "Oh, everybody who has done your route is kind of like the classic way to go." So I did that for 3 years, and I have to say it's a very intense program. You kind of, first year, you just want to make it. You just want to make that first year and get through that first year. And then the second year, you're like, oh my God, what have I done? I'm never gonna get this through this. It's crazy. And the professors are writing on the board, and it's already, a combination of Latin and math and algorithms, and like everything is a big mess. And then by the third year, you're just, okay, I have to finish. I have to pedal through and finish the best way I can with the best possible outcome. And that's what I did. So I think it also kind of taught me a lot about pedaling through, and how much you can endure, how much you can how much you can really work through in situations where everything is like so stressed, so much work. We've been to similar programs, like very kind of high paced programs. So it's definitely one of
Now,
those.
Mo,
And
when
then
you
somebody,
reflect back at those experiences, and when you think through those
yeah,
really difficult times, and I can really picture sitting in the Technion and you're studying mathematics and computer
in the middle
science,
of
the
the
half.
night, like 2 a.m.
What gets you through it? So obviously now, looking back in perspective, you see what it allowed you, and you see that choosing the right courses in high school and the right sort of major in high school has led you also to the path of 8200. But in that moment, when you're in the middle of the trenches and all the difficulty, you have a lot of people around you that chose different paths, right? That didn't choose to go and work in the middle of the night on algorithms. What gets you through then those difficult
Yeah.
nights?
I'll tell you first. I mean, the first year is very difficult. The drop rate for my program the first year is over 50%. So over 50% of the people who start the program, start the degree, don't make it through the first year. And all these people, they leave and they do something completely different. I feel like they're so beaten. Some of them went to become lawyers, like something completely different from what the kind of training or kind of education that we were going through. So the fact that you're there in the second year, and you all of a sudden you see around you, or like just barely half the people, you're like, there's a reason I'm here, and I'm not gonna toss out and throw out the window everything that brought me to this day. You're sitting, and also the reason, like, you're sitting in the lab, and you're working on this project, and it's really intense. You're kind of into the code, and you're trying to figure something out, and you're looking at the clock, and you're like, oh my God, it's like another 3 hours have gone by. It's like 2 a.m. already. We're not done. So I guess the people who stayed really became the glue of one another, help people kind of, make it through. And there's also a lot of brainstorming, a lot of things that you see today in organizations, that are all open space and everything is cubicle, and people are kind of asking questions and trying to help one another. That was very much the feel. And I think that it's almost feels like a team effort. Like, it's very difficult to be kind of alone and do it by yourself. And it's you can go to a dark place though. It's very fun to have people around you who understand, and like people there. You take the top people who've always been successful in life and in school, and you take them to a place where they're used to being really good at what they do, and you look at the board on all the grades, and people get like a single digit grade. People who gotten straight A's their entire
Unbelievable.
lives, you're looking down, and there's somebody who got an 8 on the exam, and somebody
Unbelievable.
got like a 13. Like,
I
how does
have to
that
share.
even happen?
I remember the first day in my university where the dean stood in front of everybody, and he said something that resonates with me until today, and really is amazing to think about. He said, all of you are used to being the valedictorians in the top of your class. Inevitably, half of you are gonna be below average. One of you is gonna be the lowest in the class, and this is and it was mind-boggling. And I was watching how everybody, their faces turn red, and now it's only a question of where am I gonna be, and it's really amazing. Now, Mo, such an amazing journey beyond just those years that we talked about, where I can already see how you're taking this resilience and this passion with you wherever you go. Talk to me about the founding of iAngels, something that is so predominant today in the Israel ecosystem. What led you to think of creating this VC fund?
Okay, so I was always working in corporate. Okay, so I started my career as a software engineer, was working for SAP, led development teams there. Again, had an experience in New York, which I think kind of connected all the dots. You all of a sudden realize that you are in this hub of business, and people really want to engage with what's going on in Israel, but they almost feel like outsiders. They don't really know who to trust, where to go, how to navigate. People who are used to being very active and managing their own investments in the US, and they kind of feel like they should be doing the same thing in a different region. They're really seeing this as a major challenge. Now, I met Shelly, my partner, when I was in New York, so I was doing my MBA there, and afterwards working for IBM, and she was working for a hedge fund called Avenue Capital, and we became instant friends. She came back to Israel, worked for Goldman. I came back to Israel afterwards, worked for Amdocs. And when I was actually pregnant with my second child, I have 5 kids. So when I was pregnant with my second child, I told her, listen, I have this idea. This is what I'm going to do. And I think that you should do this with me. And she said, you're crazy. You're crazy. Because I told her, listen, there's a real gap. We can be a bridge between everybody who wants to engage with the Israeli ecosystem. Nobody has this kind of access. Nobody understands the ecosystem like an industry insider, somebody who grew up here, who knows all the founders because they went with them to the military and they went to school and they went to the Technion and they went through so many similar experiences. We can really be that bridge, and we can be the eyes and ears on the ground of everyone who wants to come in. And she's like, you're crazy. And maybe I was, because both of us had like really a great thing going. We had a great job, and we loved what we did, and we were very much corpy. Like, we loved having the kind of backing of a big organization. You can do so many things. You can do M&As, and you can, you're working closely with management, some of the, really top companies of the world. And it took her a few months for me to be able to convince her that this makes sense. And we became essentially entrepreneurs. We founded this business like a startup company. This is a product company. We have our own product and R&D. And at the same time, we're creating, on one hand, like a marketplace. We want to bring on members and people into our VC platform. And on the other hand, create a state-of-the-art institutional grade offering where we originate and do due diligence and everything on these opportunities, and enable kind of very high quality group investing. At the end of the day, we wanted to enable each investor, whether it's institutional, semi-institutional, family office, or individual, to be your own VC. This is what we wanted to do for ourselves. This was like a challenge that we recognize as young professionals. This is what we want to do. We want to start investing just like you do, right? You, Michael, you started investing. You already know kind of what's your strategy, what you like, what you don't like. We were like that. So we kind of wanted to create a platform or a product that answers that need for ourselves. So we're like, who does angel investing like, in the old age? You don't even know what's going on with the companies. You put like 50,000 there, 50,000 there. You have no visibility into what's going on with the companies, and no ability to be successful unless you follow on and, and have these rights. Many times you don't have these rights. So that was the key motivation. We wanted to bring it to the next generation. We wanted to do it much better, more efficient, more transparent, in a way where, you have a dashboard. You see all your investments. It's like a bank. Like, you want to see what your portfolio is worth. Are you building it? You want somebody to talk to if you want to navigate that portfolio. So that was the motivation. And it was very, it was baby steps. It was really like founding a startup. So everything that our companies go through, we've been there. And I think that's really also part of the magic.
Now,
And,
as
8
you're
years
focusing,
later,
as you'll tell me in a second, but as you're focusing on iAngels, I also want to really get clear. You're developing
yeah.
this. You're developing your own expertise. You're developing the ability to then translate that expertise to allow others to make their own decisions. You're focusing on specific trends within the Israeli ecosystem. What are those, and why those specifically?
Yeah. Well, first, I think it's somebody who's been following the Israeli ecosystem for many years. You can really recognize cycles in innovation around specific sectors. There are times where, there was a time where I saw, I want to say, 50 companies that are developing technologies for the automotive space, maybe 50.
Wow.
And we ended up investing in one. We ended up investing in Arbe Robotics, which is an amazing company that announced its SPAC on NASDAQ in March, and they're going to be merging into a SPAC at a valuation of 723 million, which is amazing. We led their kind of post-seed round, but we saw maybe 50 of those. And a similar thing happened with agri-tech. There was a point in time where we saw dozens of companies. So sometimes we understand, and we like to do it kind of like before it's already a trend, kind of do analysis, and we do research, and we look at new things that are happening in the ecosystem, and we map it out, and then we are developing a thesis around that specific sector. So if it was around agri-tech, or if it was around drone technology, that was also like a big trend, automotive, enterprise software, and cyber, which is something that we're kind of bringing from home and have a lot of experience in. And also, digital health and food tech. Food tech was never a sector within its own. It's something that really became a sector in the last couple of years. Now, at iAngels, we've been, following and investing in digital health 7 years ago. So now, with Corona, a lot of companies have been enjoying these tailwinds and growing considerably. We feel like we've been there very, very early on. Same thing with blockchain technologies. We've been investing in them, creating a portfolio in blockchain technologies since 2017.
Amazing.
So much, much before the big boom, the winter, and everything else. So we really try to recognize it kind of really before it happens, develop a thesis around a specific sector, and then make the investment in the companies that we feel can have a real opportunity to be a category leader and have to be positioned well on the global setting. So everything needs to be things that have very big ideas or big problems. We generally like to invest in companies that at least have the opportunity to be $1 billion company, or to really make a change in the world, really be a category leader. And of course, from now to then, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But we want to back the companies that believe that they have a chance at making it really big.
I love it. And Mo, there's so much more that I want to talk about. I can't believe every time I get so angry at myself that I call this show 20-minute leaders and not 30-minute leaders. But there's you've had some really incredible announcements. So just in a couple of sentences, tell me a little bit about where you're at today with iAngels, and then I have 3 short questions that I want to ask you.
Okay. Well, iAngels today, we just recently announced formally our new fund, iAngels Ventures One. It's the new institutional fund that we collaborated with the European Investment Fund. So European Investment Fund is one of the top institutional investors in the world. They manage money for the European Union, the European Bank, and a long list of institutions in Europe. And we kind of share a similar viewpoint with this fund to invest early stage and invest in in the technologies of the future and the teams that are building our future. So this is what we're focusing on, and essentially very complementary to our VC platform. And we have also plans for the next offerings or next products, like a growth fund and an additional early stage fund. So we're kind of like really building it because we see our companies mature, and we want to be able to not only support our portfolio but also come in where it makes sense. And there's a gap in the market in the B and the C round. So this is definitely something that we're considering as we grow further. And it's very exciting times. It's also exciting to be an entrepreneur these days. I think it's a great time.
100%. I recently read an interesting post on LinkedIn of somebody who asked, "Is it a better time to be an entrepreneur or to be an investor?" It's a great sign that this is the question that is being asked, because it's all around. It's a great time to be in tech and to be involved in these great innovations that are taking place.
These days, everything is tech. You can't separate tech from the world. Everything is tech. Everything you touch. Real estate is tech. Everything is tech. So it's definitely eating the world, and I think it's again. I don't know how to answer the question. If it's better to be an entrepreneur or an investor, a good one.
It's a good one. Well, take me back to your childhood. What sparked your curiosity as a kid?
Well, I think again, something that I recognize today, and maybe kind of my husband really appreciates today. I grew up with two brothers. So at home, it was always, gaming, sci-fi movies, futuristic movies. These are the kind of things that made me, I feel, kind of look at the future, or what I think the future might look like. What are people going to do? What kind of robotic systems are we going to have? What planets are we going to man? I don't know. It's something that, I really loved as a kid. And was part of my upbringing for sure. And I think it shapes what I'm saying. I still really enjoy it. So I'm a total sci-fi geek, and I think I'm shocked that some of the movies that it kind of that I enjoyed growing up, in terms of the technology, we're not there yet. It's mind-boggling to me.
What inspires you today?
Today, I mean, it's similar to the things that I mentioned. I love being around people that have these really big dreams, and they have the conviction that this is what's going to happen. And sometimes I sit in a room, and somebody shares their vision on the company, and I'm like, wow, if we hit half of that, that'd be amazing. Yeah. And then, and when we start working together in the following year, I'm almost, I don't know if I'm surprised or not surprised that we've made such a big impact or such a big jump. And I think, as Richard Branson said it once, if your dreams don't scare you, they're too small. So this is the kind of, environment that we cultivate in our company, and the kind of DNA that we look for in entrepreneurs. And at the end of the day, we want to have fun. It's a long journey, can be very challenging at times. And so we're looking for people who share that passion. And it's definitely part of the inspiration of getting up in the morning and, and taking meetings and going to work.
I love it. And what are 3 words you would use to describe yourself?
I'm going to use words that maybe other people describe me. Maybe it's going to be slightly better. I think one thing I feel I am, and I guess other people repeat, is the problem solver. Very, very early in my career, I had an amazing manager that every time people would come to him with problems, he said, "Don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions." So I practice that all the time, and I feel that the second word I'm going to say is creative. So it's not only about solving a problem, but it's sometimes when you're dealt a hand and it's just not good enough, then how do you change the hand that you're dealt? How do you bring new variables into this problem, and that maybe other people didn't think about, and change and be able to change the outcome around that? So creative. A third one, maybe funny. People say I'm funny. I think I have a geeky kind of
I
fun, funny.
I love it, and no, I really want to thank you for the time that you gave to this. I know how busy you are, and I think that the work that you're doing, both your perspective on the ecosystem and your own personal journey, is inspiring. But I love the energy, and I'm leaving here with much more energy than I started, and I really thank you for that, and thank you for the great work that you're doing with iAngels. Best of luck with the new institutional fund, and I can't wait to see it become an even more important and critical part of our ecosystem. And thank you. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you. You too. We'll take everything else offline. We'll do another 20 minutes.
100%. Thank you.